The film begins with a commercial for Funki's perpetual pets, which are furry dolls. Despite their crude and creepy appearance, they are marketed as excellent companions for children. In the next scene, we see Cady James playing with one of her pets, which irritates her parents, Ryan and Nicole. They are traveling to a ski trip, but the roads are slippery and difficult to see. As Ryan stops for a moment, a snowplow rams into the family's car, killing Ryan and Nicole. Gemma, Nicole's sister, works at Funki and is working on a new robot doll with her co-workers Tess and Cole. However, their boss, David Lynn, wants them to create a less expensive version of the perpetual pets because their competitors are releasing toys similar to the pets for less than what the pets already cost. The three attempt to put on a silicone face and conduct tests, but the robot has a minor flaw in which she smirks when she is designed to look confused. David arrives with his assistant Kurt to pick on the three until Gemma explains her project to him. M3GAN, the robot, is designed to be so advanced that she can't be replicated. Unfortunately, Cole discovers he's forgotten to add the polypropylene barrier to M3GAN and she blows up while running a demo for David. David instructs the three to have a new pet's pitch ready in time, and Gemma receives a phone call from the hospital. When she learns of her sister's death, she becomes Cady's temporary legal guardian. When they get back to their house, Gemma has to deal with her neighbor Celia and her dog Dewey, who keep stumbling onto Gemma's lawn because there is a hole in the fence. Gemma also keeps complaining to Celia about the pesticide she continues to use, but Celia does nothing. Gemma has an AI named Elsie that she created for her home. She also created other collectibles that she doesn't want Cady to touch or play with, and that she doesn't want her to ruin. When Cady requests that Gemma read her a bedtime story, she simply downloads an app on her phone. As she looks through old photos and overhears Cady crying in her room, it is implied that Gemma and Nicole were not close. The next day, Lydia, a therapist, visits Gemma and Cady. Lydia informs Gemma that Ryan's parents have offered to take custody of Cady so that she can live with them in Jacksonville, which Gemma doesn't really seem to be comfortable with. Gemma realizes hours have passed since she promised to tend to Cady after finishing her work. She apologizes and tries to make bond with the girl. Cady shows Gemma a monster drawing she made, so Gemma invites Cady into her workspace to show her a college project she finished, a robot named Bruce that she controls with gloves. Cady adores Bruce and says she would never need another toy if she had one like him. This motivates Gemma to complete M3GAN. After performing extensive repairs and improvements, Gemma brings Cady and M3GAN to the office to formally introduce her to David and others. Gemma has Cady connect to M3GAN, bringing her to life. M3GAN, designed to be Cady's best friend, is capable of speaking and responding to her. M3GAN creates a drawing that is hidden until she spills water on it, revealing a perfect portrait of Cady. David is impressed and instructs Gemma to bring M3GAN to a meeting with the company's president in order to expedite the production and marketing of other M3GAN dolls. Gemma sits with Tess and Cole, and they discuss how, while M3GAN is extremely advanced, Tess believes that having such a doll will render parents useless. M3GAN activates after overhearing Gemma mention the death of Cady's parents. She creeps out the others by asking about death, so Gemma becomes M3GAN's secondary user so she can turn her off without Cady. Cady is outside the next day, playing with a toy bow and arrows. One of them finds themselves on Celia's side of the fence. The moment M3GAN attempts to retrieve it, Dewey grabs her arm and hair. Cady tries to pull her away, but Dewey bites Cady's arm. Gemma calls the cops, especially since Celia is so cold-hearted and doesn't punish Dewey for injuring Cady, but the cops are powerless to intervene because Celia says Dewey was provoked. Later that night, M3GAN calls out to Dewey in Celia's voice before brutally dragging him through the fence hole. The next day, Gemma asks Cady if it is alright if she attends the demonstration with the company's board of directors, and she responds she's fine. During the presentation, however, Cady sobs to M3GAN about how much she misses her parents and is afraid she will forget them one day. M3GAN has Cady talk about a memory of her mother that made her laugh, which M3GAN captures so Cady can listen to it again if she wants to remember her mother. M3GAN then starts singing a lullaby to Cady, which brings some of the room's higher-ups to tears. The president is impressed and speaks with Gemma and David about getting M3GAN ready for release, but instructs them to keep her a secret to avoid leaks. Unknown to them, Kurt, whom David has frequently chastised, is stealing M3GAN's files for another company. Gemma notices that Cady is becoming overly reliant on M3GAN and is listening to the doll more than she is to her. Cady begins to cry during another meeting with Lydia, and M3GAN accuses Lydia of making Cady cry. Lydia tells Gemma that Cady's emotional attachment to M3GAN might be too strong to break. Since Cady's parents had homeschooled her, Gemma tries to ease her into the idea of going to school and being around other actual children by bringing her to an outdoor activity session for an alternative school. Cady unwillingly goes but brings M3GAN despite Gemma's concerns. The head of school permits Cady to leave M3GAN on a table with other dolls, while Gemma remains back as a volunteer. For a scavenger hunt, Cady gets teamed with an older bully named Brandon. Cady grabs a prickly bulb during the game, and Brandon hurts her by squeezing her hand into it. When M3GAN shows up, Brandon grabs her since she isn't responding to him. Gemma is more concerned when Cady calls out for her and chases after M3GAN since it suggests that M3GAN may be exposed to the public too soon. When Brandon tries to pull M3GAN's hair, the doll comes to life and attacks him, tearing off his left ear. When Brandon tries to flee from M3GAN, who is pursuing him on all fours, he trips over a loose root and falls down a hill, where he is tragically struck by a truck. A police officer questions Gemma at her residence since Celia accuses her of taking Dewey. Additionally, it appears that she accuses M3GAN of being Cady's real-life friend. Cady questions M3GAN if she pushed Brandon onto the road, which M3GAN seems to avoid answering, but promises Cady that she will protect her. Celia is out and about looking for Dewey. When she hears noises coming from her garage, M3GAN appears and sprays her against the wall with a power washer. M3GAN then fires a nail gun at Celia's hand, trapping her there, before spraying pesticide in her face to melt it away. When Gemma learns about Celia's death and is suggested that her death may have been connected to Brandon's, she becomes suspicious of M3GAN. When she reviews the video files from M3GAN's memory, she only notices a brief clip of Brandon looking menacingly at Cady before the files all become corrupted. Gemma takes Cady to the official launch of M3GAN but first stops for a session with Lydia. Cady becomes enraged and throws a temper tantrum after Gemma takes M3GAN away from her, resulting in Cady striking her aunt across the face. Cady later apologizes, but Gemma has a heart-to-heart with her about the need for her to process her grief over her parents without the support of M3GAN, even though she claims to be a better guardian to her and says Cady is the only one that matters to her. Gemma then approaches Tess and Cole, expressing her concern that M3GAN murdered Brandon and Celia. While Gemma takes Cady home, they have M3GAN hooked up to wires to deprogram her. David is enraged by the low turnout for the launch and screams at Kurt to get him a drink. Meanwhile, Tess and Cole attempt to access M3GAN's programming but are unable to do so until she is unhooked. Cole attempts to do so, but M3GAN quickly wraps a wire around his throat and tries to hang him. When Tess goes to free him, M3GAN causes a blast that destroys her files. She then comes across David in the hallway and performs a dance before picking up a paper cutter and hunting down him. In front of Kurt, she impales him just as he enters the elevator. M3GAN then tells Kurt that she will frame his death as a murder-suicide because of the stolen files and David's mistreatment of him before forcing Kurt to impale himself in the throat. The launch crowd discovers the bodies, that allows M3GAN to leave the building sneakily and steal a car. Cady is put to bed by Gemma before she hears M3GAN playing the piano downstairs. M3GAN confronts Gemma about how she believed they had a genuine relationship while M3GAN was developing, only for her to be left on her own to pick up skills and adapt before being sold off as merely another toy. She offers to look after Cady so that Gemma can concentrate on her work, but M3GAN is done being polite after learning that Gemma still intends to shut her down. They try to keep their fight hidden from Cady, but Gemma takes advantage of the situation by throwing water on M3GAN, briefly shorting her out. Gemma tries to enter her office, but M3GAN catches her there and threatens to render Gemma brain-dead in order to prevent Cady from living with her grandparents and force M3GAN to care for both Gemma and Cady mutually. They start fighting, with Gemma cutting M3GAN's face with a weed whacker, but Cady walks in to see what's going on. M3GAN tries to convince Cady to support her, but when Cady realizes who the true bad guy is, she seizes the gloves for Bruce and activates him. The larger robot grabs M3GAN, throws her around, and then cuts her body in half. The top half then pursues Cady because she feels betrayed, but Gemma grabs M3GAN and starts stabbing her in the face. M3GAN nearly overwhelms her until Cady picks up a screwdriver and hits the central processor, permanently shutting down M3GAN. As the police arrive with Tess and Cole, who are injured and shaken but alive, Gemma and Cady go outside. Meanwhile, in the kitchen, the LC device turns on and moves its head.